I'm really, really pleased to be able to introduce our first guest speakers. If you have already received our Christmas appeal, you will already know their story. But if you haven't, Heath and Louisa are the proud parents of young Roman. I'm very proud to welcome you here tonight. Hi, Heath. Hi, Louisa. How are you both going?
Hey, Katrina, how are you?
Really well, thank you. And how are things in the lead up to Christmas?
Good.
Hectic.
Busy?
Yes.
I think planning what we're going to do, and obviously buying presents and things like that. It's all there.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those that don't know your story, would you mind just sharing us a little bit about your life pre-epilepsy?
Yeah, so pre-epilepsy, we, I guess, had never experienced it at all in our family. I have one auntie who grew up with epilepsy due to a head injury, but she was, throughout the whole time I've known her, has been quite stable. But I guess I've just heard the stories of her injury, but in terms of it affecting us personally, it never affected us. And the same for Heath.
Yeah, it wasn't something I knew much about. So for us, what we went through was, I guess, pretty unknown.
Yeah,
it was just
very unknown. I guess you hear about, I guess, kids at school maybe, like that we kind of, TV, all that kind of thing. But personally experiencing it, no, never. So when Roman was diagnosed, it was a huge shock to the system. And to even, say that out loud, that it was, a childhood form of epilepsy, it shook us right to the core.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about how Roman came about being diagnosed?
Yeah. So at about 5.5, 6 months old, Roman was diagnosed with infantile spasms. We noticed prior to the spasms, we sort of noticed a shift in his sort of, I guess,
demeanor.
Just sort of his demeanor, sort of stopped smiling and he would glaze over from time to time. And then, well and truly a few weeks into noticing all those changes, he started having spasms. So essentially they are they come sort of like torso and they're like a crunch. And as soon as we saw those spasms, we knew something straight away was not right. And we rushed him straight to the Children's Hospital. But, I guess we were just going on like a gut instinct. We didn't, because we haven't had any prior knowledge or life experience of what epilepsy is, we didn't know any kind of protocols to take or anything like that. So we were dismissed a couple of times from the doctors, but we knew there just was something not right. So we did persist and took some video of every time he would have a spasm. So it was happening about 3 to 4 times a day. And the spasms were like in clusters. So they would last for about a minute and then they would stop and then it would happen. Those little clusters would happen throughout the day. So we noted all those things down, brought them back to the Royal Children's Hospital, and sure enough, within the week, the neurologist had diagnosed him with infantile spasms.
And this was all going on during COVID on top of all of that?
So we had just come out, so this was 2021. We had just come out of the whole 2020 of off and on lockdown. Roman was born during a lockdown. And so coming out of those lockdowns, we were sort of already a little bit like socially, anxious. And then the diagnosis put us into just complete meltdown, thinking that COVID had shaken us. This was the next level. Nothing could have ever prepared us for this, for that. And yeah, it changed our lives forever. I think it's definitely permanently changed our character a lot. We're much more resilient. Yeah, it has changed our lives.
And I've got to say, putting a footnote in there that I personally had a bit to do with both of you, and you are incredible couple that are amazing. For those that don't know online, Heath has just recently ran for 24 hours to raise funds for the Epilepsy Foundation, and take my hat off to you, Heath, but Louise, also take my hat off to you for supporting him through all of that. So incredible couple and an amazing family. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. With the diagnosis, I guess with that comes some, as you said, anxieties and fears. What are some of your fears and concerns since the diagnosis?
I think we sort of didn't get any sort of a clear idea of why these spasms and the epilepsy happened. So for us, it's thinking about the future is like, can they come back? Is definitely one thing in the back of our minds. And day to day, we don't sort of have too much, I guess, stress or worry about it, but we do stay vigilant with obviously trying to keep him healthy, diet, exercise, things like that. I know he's only a 3-year-old, but building good habits and things like that are really important. Because that might be something that helps down the track.
Definitely. And from your perspective, how important is it, now that you know about epilepsy, how important do you think it is, the need for education and awareness about epilepsy within the community?
I don't think you can really put a, what am I trying to say? It's so important.
I
don't know how to put it.
I think why I'm like, you talk about the running and things, that's something that I do enjoy running, but I think it's something that helps, I guess, bring the discussion out. Like the other week when I did the run, I actually learned of like 2 or 3 other people I didn't know had epilepsy as either middle-aged kids, whatever. So even just doing that, there was a conversation between people and
a safe space.
A safe space, and obviously raising funds is massive. And as I said, we're okay at the moment because Roman's going well, but we know that there are thousands of other families. 1 in 25 people are affected by epilepsy. So for us, what can we do to support the foundation and support families? Through the Epilepsy Foundation, I've got to know some families, and I know there's a lot of hardship out there, and raising money or just having a conversation can actually be really important.
And also just making sure that there's a community, that there is safe people like us, that if there is someone else, say in our circle, they can reach out to us. Because one thing that was so saddening for us is we didn't know who to turn to. We really didn't. And as a mother and as a new mum at that time, I felt so lost and so confused. What does the future look for my new son? And not knowing who to turn to or a community, it was really isolating, and it caused a lot of heartache, because I didn't really know who I could, or who the both of us who could really speak openly
or understand
and truly understand. We had compassionate family and friends, but to really know what we're going through. We didn't have that. And I don't ever want someone close to us to ever have to experience that, because it was a really hard time.
Heath and Louisa, thank you so much for that, for sharing such a personal story. And it breaks my heart as a mum to hear, what you've gone through as well. And as you said, no family should have to go through this alone. And that's why it's so important, as you said, to raise awareness and for organisations like ours to be there for families like yours. So,
and just one last thing, we've discussed, down the track, if it was to ever be, the worst case scenario that Roman was to, have to, I guess, go through this again, we know we're in good hands with the foundation.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
No, thank you. And thank you again for sharing your story. And for those of you that haven't heard the story or seen the videos, please go to our website and click on the donate button, and you can actually see snippets of the videos that we've taken in your home. And thank you so much for letting us come in and share your story tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you
very
guys.
much.
Thanks for letting us share.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, for those of you that do need help or support, you can see on our screen at the moment, there's the National Epilepsy Support Service that's open from Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can call that number and there'll be people at the end of that phone number that will actually be able to help you or help the person that that may have been impacted by epilepsy. Now, it is my great pleasure to next introduce you to one of our fabulous staff members at the Epilepsy Foundation. Rihanna is a seizure and epilepsy support advisor, and I'm really, really pleased to have her join us and share her story tonight. Now, Rihanna has been with the foundation for 5 years, and she's also been a social worker for 15 years working in different areas. Before coming to the foundation, she's worked in a number of areas, including child protection, regional hospital, and the military veterans space. Rihanna, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure, Katrina. It's lovely to see you.
Really nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Now, Rihanna, after listening to Heath and Louisa's story, is there anything you would like to say or add to what they had to say?
Yeah, look, I'd like to really thank Heath and Louisa for sharing their story. It's not easy to see your own child in such a vulnerable space. And then they had to deal with that all through lockdown as well, which in itself is anxiety provoking. And hard too, because I think, when you're a parent and a couple, not being able to be together to support each other because of lockdown must have been really hard for them. But it's wonderful to see that Roman is amazingly on track. I saw him in his video with his lovely mop of blonde hair running around and looking like he's well on track developmentally, which is absolutely fantastic. But like I said, it doesn't alleviate any of their anxiety, for the future of their child. And so that's totally understandable. But I'm really appreciative that they've stepped on tonight to share their story because it's important.
Yeah, they're amazing people. So, yeah.
They are, and I don't like running. So I'm glad that someone else does.
For 24 hours, I'm not sure how many people do. What does the Epilepsy Foundation do to support families like the Hockings and with infantile spasm, but also other forms of epilepsy? How do we help them?
Well, I'm part of an actual team. I'm not a standalone person. And obviously the first contact is through the National Epilepsy Support Service, where they get to speak with amazing people. And then possibly they may need further support, and someone like myself will be allocated the case. It's a really safe place for people to come, I think. We are able to guide them through the process of diagnosis, although we won't give medical advice. We've worked closely with families. We can set goals. We can assist with that transition from baby into early learning and primary schools and things like that. We have amazing teams that can educate and go into schools and educate on behalf of the families so that possible stigmas are reduced as well. So there's lots of things that we can do to support the individual themselves, maybe not such at the age of young Roman, but, you know, primary school, specifically adolescents, young adolescents are experiencing the hormones as well as, you know, having some limitations, and we can support through that. But we have a really good team focus and we work closely together on those sort of things.
Just quickly, there's a question that's come through. Is that support phone number that we put up before just to have a chat if you're feeling down and need to vent about your epilepsy to someone?
Look, you can do that and have that conversation, and they'll provide you with information that you might be missing. So, yes, and then based on that, they'll assess that, you know, speaking to you, and then they'll ask whether you feel that you might need further comprehensive support, which you'll then be referred to someone like myself. We don't case manage, but we are there to support, you know, as long as the person needs us. So if you feel that you need to speak to someone, yes, give the Nestline a call, definitely.
Great, thanks, Rihanna. What are some of the concerns when people do call that they have when diagnosed, or concerns a parent has when their child is diagnosed?
It's interestingly, it's funny how our mind works sometimes as a parent. So I've worked very closely with families who, unfortunately, their child's diagnosed at a very young age, you know, around that firstborn 0. And I've had parents worry about them going to university, working full time, and getting their driver's license. So it's kind of like bringing it back a little bit, because that's kind of like 16 years away, and we really have to work in the here and now. And I totally understand about that feeling of, you know, working to the future. But we can set goals. Those goals might be daily goals. They then might turn into weekly goals. They may be about, you know, the next 5 months. And then if you have to go back to work, working with the family about going into daycare or childcare, and how we can support that progression by having, you know, workers educated within the daycare centre as well. I think one of the strongest things is young adolescents and driver's license. I think we get a lot of calls about that. And it is actually possible for people to get their license if they have a diagnosis of epilepsy. But there are very specific guidelines, and they are: you need a letter from your neurologist, you must be seizure-free for over 12 months, and be really set on taking your medications and committed to taking your meds as well. So there's some of the things that parents and adolescents think about. We do work with the aged care community. They are lesser, but I think for those over 60, sometimes it's kind of hard to comprehend that not only are they losing their independence because they're aging, but now they're losing their independence because of this diagnosis. And it's about us, you know, being strong with them and empowering them, and ensuring that they don't lose their identity in that space with that diagnosis. It's a broad area. We cover it all almost.
Definitely, definitely. And with people that are diagnosed, do you think that they are potentially unfairly treated in the community, whether that be at work or be at school?
Look, I'd really like to say, no, that doesn't happen at all. But unfortunately, it does happen. There is a stigma related to epilepsy. And it's really about us educating, you know, from the very beginning of going into childcare, our families, those we're connected to, education is certainly the key. And one of the fabulous things about the foundation, like I've previously spoken, we have some really amazing online learning programs that workspaces can do, you know, and what we're asking is leaders to lead. So if leaders can step up, really good managers, do these courses and promote that within their own workplaces, then that's going to support someone coming in with epilepsy. And also in the education space, you know, we have amazing courses online for educators, and then we have our fabulous education and training nurses who will actually go into those spaces, talk about epilepsy management plans and how to give, you know, emergency medication if it's been prescribed. So we have these things in place, and then we have my team, which, you know, there's a number of us, and we can talk through some goal settings and things about how you can educate people in those spaces yourself.
That's really, I'd like to, I guess, go into that a little bit more in terms of what are some of the examples of support we've given to families, both in the short term, but also in the longer term, because I know we see people when they're first diagnosed, but it doesn't stop there.
No. So I suppose I could give an example of a family that I've worked with, and I first met them at diagnosis, and their child, I think, was only 5. Well, now that person is a young adolescent. He's 13. So I've worked, although, you know, they've gone away and come back again, I've worked with them from conception, from the diagnosis and and working through that progress to different diagnoses through NDIS as well, and supporting them through that process, and then moving into adolescence again. You know, also the child was in mainstream and then moved into a special development school, and we just worked through those processes. An amazing mum and father team, pretty much like the Hocking family we have here tonight, you know, are really advocated strongly and really well supported. Look, we have another member of our team, Lisa, who's been with the foundation for well over 30 years. And I mean, she has relationships with families where the children are now well into adulthood, and she's still supporting them to this day. So we might support someone for a week, for a day, for a lifetime, you know, over a span. And, you know, that's pretty special to be able to say that you can do that.
And I have heard Lisa speak at another session earlier this year, and she was talking about how she had supported and advocated for a child to be able to go on a school camp.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
they are now adults, and she is advocating for them through NDIS. So
yeah. And I think most of us have been in that space where we were advocating in some way, you know, to support the person with epilepsy, but also empower the family so they can advocate as well, and the best ways to approach that. Definitely.
Rhianna, I can tell that you love your job.
I do.
Fantastic. What do you enjoy most about your role?
I think, oh, look, I love lots of things about my role, but I think some of the things I love the most is the fact that I get to meet families and empower them, and also empower the people with epilepsy. You know, I think education is key when it comes to epilepsy. It's really not well known. But I think it's just the fact that I can be there for them, for the person with epilepsy and for the family as well, and kind of just tell them that it's okay, you know, we got this and you're not alone. And I will be here for those days when you need me the most, and for some days just when you need to ring me and tell me some great things that you've done. And, you know, but I'll always be a warrior for them. So, yeah.
Questions just come through. Are young adults who work and live with epilepsy able to reach out and have you speak to their employer to bring a better understanding?
Yes, we can. Obviously, we need consent from the person who's ringing, but we also need consent from the workplace as well, so that we can speak to them. But definitely, you know, we have some great people that can go in and talk in that space and provide the information that workforces need. We can also empower the young person themselves to be able to, you know, stand up and advocate for themselves in the appropriate way. I think it gives them power in their own space, and I think that's a powerful thing as well.
Thank you for that.
That's all right. Now,
you talked about what you enjoy most about your role. What is it about your role that you enjoy the least?
99.9% of my clients I never meet physically. So a majority of my work is done over the phone. So I never meet my clients. And for me, a people person, a contact person, that is probably one of the most things that I miss and find difficult at times within my role. So, yeah, it's only a small thing.
But I know you're very much a people person, so I completely understand that.
Thank you.
Another question's come through.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I've been knocked back by NDIS. Can NES help with letters my doctors need to say for me to be accepted? I'm still having seizures.
Look, NES won't be able to particularly help you with that, but if you would contact NES, explain your situation and say that you would like to be referred to a comprehensive support worker, which is someone like me, an epilepsy support worker, and then we can talk and find out specific details relating to your query. NDIS is very complex, and obviously we would need to find out exactly what you were looking for. So I can't promise anything, but go through NES is what I'm saying, and then ask to be referred to to a support worker. Yes.
Thanks, Rihanna. One last question for you.
Yeah.
Is with regards to why do you think organisations such as the Epilepsy Foundation are so important?
Well, I didn't think I should answer this on my own, so I actually went to my team members and got them to send me some different ideas. So I'm going to read this, and I do apologise, but I really feel that I would hate to miss anybody's ideas. So this is from the team that supports those with epilepsy longer term. So we feel that it's an understanding place to come. It's a compassionate and empathetic place. It's essential. It provides essential support not provided by the medical system. We provide guidance and support regardless of income. Education and guidance, and specifically empathy. Guidance through emotional highs of the diagnosis and emotional lows of the diagnosis. We care, and some of us even walk in your shoes.
That's really special. And as you said, that's a breadth of the experience of all the people that actually
definitely
support
yes.
It's lovely. So Rihanna, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience. And
my absolute pleasure.
I think everyone on this webinar tonight can sense your passion and empathy to support those people that are impacted. So we thank you so much, and we have such incredible people like yourself that work for the organisation who are here to help support people impacted. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
My absolute pleasure. And I would suggest that anyone who's watching tonight and you're unsure, call the NES line. They will step you through the process and send you in the right direction. That's what they're there for. And then, if you need that added support, then they'll refer you to my amazing team, and we can support you further. But thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Rihanna. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Now, I would like to introduce our next guest, who has been with the organisation for over 15 years, actually 16 years now. I'd like to introduce Graham Shears, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Epilepsy Foundation, but also sits on the Epilepsy Australia Board and the International Bureau of Epilepsy. It is my pleasure to welcome Graham Shears. Welcome, Graham. You've got Graham online. There he is. How are you, Graham?
Online, and I'm seen and unmuted as well.
Yes, you've mastered it. Well done. Thank you so much, Graham. It's been really great hearing from everyone so far tonight. But I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about epilepsy and the Epilepsy Foundation. One question I did want to ask, though, before we got started was, how many people are actually impacted or diagnosed with epilepsy?
Yeah, thanks, Katrina. There's over 15,000 people in Australia diagnosed with epilepsy each year. And at present, there's around 260,000 people with epilepsy. And that means there's around 1 million people that are living with epilepsy, when you include the family and friends that are supporting and or dealing with the impacts of epilepsy in their life. And I think for a lot of families with kids with severe epilepsy, there's huge impact on their lives. They may not be able to work because they've got to care for the child. There's, the emotional load and you know, the things that you've heard from the Hockings tonight, you know, just the anxiety and the unknown and concerns really impact a lot of people in Australia.
And are there many different types of epilepsy?
Certainly, I think there's over 60 different syndromes. So I think, you know, I really admire the breadth of knowledge that our workers like Rhianna have. And, you know, we back it up with, you know, really extensive evidence-based knowledge bases for them to use. But, you know, we've got a lot of experienced staff that understand the breadth of epilepsy and the different types and the very different impacts it has on families and people.
And we have, like yourself, we've got a lot of people that have been working for the organisation a long time as well. So it's an incredible experience and skilled workforce. So it's amazing. Graham, can you share with us how the Epilepsy Foundation is looking to actually change the current landscape and I guess the future for families living with epilepsy?
Well, I think you know, in the big picture, you know, the work we do is really to inform and build the capacity of people and families to manage the epilepsy as well as possible. And so we've developed a program called Epilepsy Smart Australia, which is now rolling out across Australia. And that's designed to make sure that no matter where people live in Australia, whether they're in the city, in the outback, you know, rural, remote, that they get access to the best possible supports that you've heard talked about tonight. The issue for us is we think that maybe 20% of people that would get benefit from those services are currently getting them. You know, so our big, I guess, change in initiative is to just really extend the reach of those programs out to everybody that needs them. And, you know, that includes the National Epilepsy Support Services, the comprehensive support services that Rhianna talked about in a really meaningful way there, but also through to peer support. One of the things the Hockings were talking about is just feeling very alone with the situation they were dealing with, and our peer support programs are a great way for people to connect with other people in similar situations with themselves, so that they got somebody that knows what they're going through.
And are there other things, I guess we were talking briefly before about the education and training. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the education and training side of the business?
Yeah, certainly. So we provide education and training to people with epilepsy and families so that they, you know, better understand the condition, understand the risks, can develop better management plans, build their capability to really live well as they can with epilepsy. But we realised it was really important that the staff of institutions such as early childhood, learning, you know, care, childcare organisations, primary schools, high schools, right through the education system, that the teachers and staff there understood epilepsy and in fact understood the individual's epilepsy and the particular impacts of the child, both on their learning and their ability to engage, socialise, participate in the activities of the school or the early learning centre, that they needed to be trained to understand. And so, you know, that's really not only do we build the capacity of individuals and their families, but we build the capacity of those people around them that are important in their lives, whether that be in the education system, in the disability system through the NDIS and all the NDIS providers. We do a lot of training of staff in disability support, right through to aged care facilities and, as Rhianna was talking about earlier, into workplaces as well, so that people can be understood and supported to do well in all those environments.
We've talked we've talked quite a bit tonight about what we're doing for people that are currently impacted. Can you tell us a little bit about what work we're doing in the research space?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things we established a while ago was, you know, I guess came out of a realisation that we're doing a lot of work to help people who have epilepsy, but we didn't think that was enough. We thought we actually needed to raise funds to stop people with epilepsy or cure epilepsy or minimise the impact of epilepsy on people's lives. And so for maybe the last 5 years, we've been raising funds to fund scientific and medical research. So to give hope to people that the situations that are caused by epilepsy at the moment, we have a hope of stopping some of those. Really, we'd like to greatly increase the amount of funding, both through fundraising and from government that's being applied to scientific research to stop the impact of epilepsy on people's lives.
And I'm just, I guess I'd emphasise the need there definitely. There's, we've done quite a bit of work and invested in some fabulous research. We're working with some of the world's best researchers here in Melbourne. Did you want to just touch briefly on some of the fabulous researchers that we are connected with?
We've got a scientific advisory committee that includes 6 of the world's top 10 epilepsy researchers. So we're very privileged to have their input into what are the areas that need funding, what are the most important areas for people living with epilepsy. So we did a lot of research into what people with epilepsy thought were the most important things to be researched, what the current researchers thought were the most important things to be researched, and combined that. So we've got a restructured approach to the things that we are looking to fund in terms of epilepsy research. And we've got a very exciting partnership with the 4 key epilepsy research centres in Melbourne, and they are ranked number 3 in the world for epilepsy research. So we're pretty excited about that and the ability to really make a huge impact in pushing forward epilepsy research to cure epilepsy.
Graham, you are also very passionate about this space. A question has come through. What brought you, Graham, to be invested in bringing awareness and support for those living with epilepsy? 16 years is an incredible amount of time to lead such a wonderful organisation.
Yeah, I guess there's a story to how that happened. At the time, the board of the Epilepsy Foundation engaged me as a management consultant to review the organisation and see if there were ways to make it more effective in delivering services to people living with epilepsy. A short while after, they asked if I would run the organisation until they recruited a new CEO. So this was 16 years ago. And
You're still looking.
they're still looking, yes. So 2 things happened that made me take the role. One was my older brother disclosed that he had epilepsy for 10 years and I didn't know about it. And so that had me thinking that there's a real issue to be resolved here if the stigma of epilepsy causes people, even within a family, not to disclose that they had epilepsy. So that was quite an important thing in my decision making. And the second thing was that the staff asked me to take the role on. And I think when you're looking to transform an organisation and make it work really well, having the staff wanting that sort of transformation was a key decision maker for me, and it's the best role I've ever had in my life.
And you're a great CEO, I might say. What are some of the long-term goals of the Epilepsy Foundation of helping people with epilepsy tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we're looking ahead to what we can achieve over the next 5 to 7 years. And some of the most important things, I think, is we want to make sure no one with epilepsy or no family dealing with epilepsy in Australia has to go it alone. We believe at the moment about 20% of people or families with epilepsy are getting the support they need, and that's simply not good enough. We want to ensure that all people with epilepsy, all families with epilepsy, can gain access to the services they need. And we're building a very complementary service to the medical sector. So we work very closely with the epilepsy specialists in Australia, and they can do what they can do, and there's a whole lot of things they can't do, and that's where the Epilepsy Foundation and the other Epilepsy Smart Australia partners fit in. So we look at it holistically, and we wrap around all the psychological and social supports around people to help them manage their epilepsy in the best possible way.
Thank you. And I guess one last question is, what can the people that are on this call tonight, on this webinar tonight, what can they do to help?
Well, I think there's two things, and I think the Hockings pointed to one of the things, which is too many people haven't heard about epilepsy, they don't understand it, and therefore they can't support other people they know when they get a diagnosis of epilepsy. So I think it's really important that everybody, whenever possible, raises the awareness of epilepsy and tries to increase the understanding of it. I think it's a condition in Australia and unfortunately around the world that does not get enough, certainly hasn't enough understanding, doesn't get enough publicity and doesn't get enough support. There's been a lot of global campaigns to bring epilepsy out of the shadows, and that's because it's just not well known and it's not seen. So given the burden of disease of epilepsy, the profile really needs to be raised. So I think that's number one, talk about it. And I really thank the Hockings for their willingness to really take active steps to increase awareness around epilepsy. It's a wonderful thing they've done. And I think the other thing is the more resources we have to apply to solving the problem, the faster and the more problem solving we can do. So the generosity of our donors is a really important thing to enable us to do our work. I encourage people to support us as much as they can. We've really got fantastic programs. We've got fantastic staff, and all we need is the support from and generosity from our community to make big change.
I just want to share this, something that's come up in the Q&A just now from Rebecca. She's written, "This isn't a question, but a thank you. My amazing sons both have epilepsy, and I'm able to better support them due to amazing organisations like this. I'll continue to help break the stigma and bring awareness." So thank you very much, Rebecca, for sharing that. And thank you, Graham, so much for providing your insight and perspective into how the Epilepsy Foundation, I guess, is leading the way to support people impacted by epilepsy. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we open to Q&As?
Oh, well, thank you, Katrina and team, for putting the webinar. I think this is one of the great ways that we can build a community of people that are understanding epilepsy and taking the word out to broader into the community.
Thanks so much, Graham. Thank you very, very much. It's been great to have you on again tonight. Thank you. Now that we've finished with our speakers, we're going to open the Q&A. We've had quite a few questions that have come through the Q&A feed tonight, which has been fantastic, and we've been able to answer them as we go. But as a reminder, you can submit your questions as we go through this. We're running pretty much on time. We're at 7 o'clock, so we've got a few more minutes before we finish up. Now, while in the meantime, while we're waiting for anyone to submit some more questions, I have a couple of questions for maybe Heath and Louisa, if they're there. Yes, there they are. Is Roman awake?
Roman.
Hi, Roman.
What a guest.
Hi.
Sorry, he's a bit unwell tonight.
Yes, Roman has been a little bit unwell, so it's lovely to celebrity appearance from you, Roman. Thank you very much. You may or may not feel comfortable answering these questions, but I guess what are your hopes and dreams from Roman now that things have settled down once he gets better?
Good question. From my point of view, it's just that obviously he stays healthy and we don't see epilepsy in his future, but yeah, just him following what he wants to do, and
Yeah.
we just support that, whatever it is. So it's sort of something you probably don't talk about. You know, obviously you want him to be healthy and do what he wants to do, but you don't sort of look too far ahead, because
We just don't want him to grow up.
as young as possible, as long as possible.
Yeah.
But,
No,
yeah, just his development since obviously the diagnosis, and then his medication, and he's has just gone through the roof. So just continuing
Yeah.
to develop, and
he's doing amazing.
he's
Yeah.
quite a bubbly, fun little kid. So
When he's not tired
Yeah.
and feeling a little under the weather. So no, he is full of so much life. He is a big daredevil. And we just hope that he just continues that, because it just gives us so much joy knowing where he's come from to where he is now. And yeah, we just don't ever want to see that spirit broken in him.
like we saw when he was
Like
first
when
diagnosed.
when he was first diagnosed, we just our hopes and prayers are just that he just continues. Or he likes to say, keep healing.
Healing.
That's his little thing. He's like, I'm healing. So yes, he is. He, in our eyes, he is definitely healing and is healed. And we just that's just our hopes and our prayers for him. So
And I believe you love trucks.
Like
You
trucks.
like trucks? Yes.
Showing the truck.
Wow. Looks like a fire truck, that one. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Look at that. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Roman. Thank you so much. Rhianna, I have a question for you. What are some of the biggest issues you help families with?
I think it is people understanding and acceptance, and that no one's diagnosis is the same as the next person, and that it's really important that we remain person focused, centered, and that we just take each individual as they come to us. And education, shout it from the mountain, is my huge saying, although I'm not going to run anywhere, I'm sorry to say. But I'm quite happy to stand on a mountain and shout it, that just because you have a diagnosis of epilepsy, it does not mean that you cannot drive, you can't be the next Prime Minister of this country, that you can't be an amazing, beautiful model or drive big trucks or things like that. It may take you a little different way to get there, or you may have to go with plan B. But I just want the world to understand that people with epilepsy are intelligent, amazing, and can do whatever they bloody want to do in life.
Well, very, very well said, Rhianna. Thank you so much. And Graham, I guess one of my last questions is for you. Why isn't epilepsy as well known as other conditions like dementia or cancer or MND?
Yeah, that was something that occupied my thinking for quite a while when I started with the foundation. I was trying to work out, burden of disease greater than breast cancer. Why isn't anyone talking about this? Why isn't it known? Why is there no funding for epilepsy? It's a global problem. So in my role as treasurer of the International Bureau, I talk to a lot of epilepsy organisations around the world, and for some reason, this is universal. And the only sort of the hypothesis I've got about it is that, close to 70% of people with epilepsy get seizure freedom from medical intervention, from drugs or surgery. And because of the stigma, they then don't want to talk about it. So if people aren't talking about a condition, it doesn't have the profile. So I think that's that's probably at the basis of what's going on, and that's why we're working hard to change the stigma. I think things are becoming better known. One of the things that's really I'm really happy about is that the number of people that are contacting us through the Nest line is growing exponentially. So, last year it was, just under 3,000 people rang the Nest line in Victoria. This year, it's running on target to be 7,000. So, there's huge growth. The number of people we've been actively supporting gone from 2,600 last year. It looks like our active client cases will be closer to 5,000 this year. So our efforts at getting the word out there about what we do and encouraging people to engage with us and get the support that they would value, I think is working. So I'm very excited about that trend.
That's fantastic. Those numbers are amazing. They're incredible. And we need to do more of that because, as you said, we feel like we're only supporting 20% of the people. So we need those numbers to keep going up, which is fantastic. Rhianna, what kind of change would you like to see within the community for families living with epilepsy?
I think pretty much what Graham said, it's that, you know, understanding, like there's over 40 different types of seizures, you know, they all present very differently, yet the community and I would say the world as a whole only believe that there's that one seizure, which is that large convulsive type seizure. And it's not, it's more than that. And I think it's the ongoing impact. People need to understand the impact, not just on the person with epilepsy, but those that support them. And it really just does come down to education. And although seizures are well controlled by medication, you know, there's this small group where that doesn't actually happen. And, you know, how do we support them in that process? So I just want people to realise is just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean that, you know, that the person and their family and supporters and partners and even their own children are not impacted by it. Education, it's about education and it's about empowering everyone to really just to talk about it.
Thank you so much. It's so well said. The beautiful Hocking family, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to say or share tonight? We've taken up so much of your time and I'm sure you want to head off and get little one to bed, but is there anything else you'd like to say or share while you're online?
Just thank you for to the Epilepsy Foundation for, I guess, giving us this voice.
Yeah.
I've done the Walk for Epilepsy 3 years in a row now, and obviously this is the first year that I've been able to share my story to the wider community. But yeah, just the platform to do so and share the story is unbelievable and something that wouldn't have been without your support wouldn't have been able to happen. So
yeah, we're so grateful. We're so grateful for the foundation, you know, what it's allowed, you know, the openness and again, you know, I say community, because yeah, it's really empowered us to speak, to keep speaking, and you know, it's really brought out stories, like we said earlier. It brought out when he did his 24-hour run. It brought out stories. It brought out, you know, a lot of, I guess, closed emotion as well that people had experienced. And it's such a wonderful foundation just to bring everyone together to be compassionate and empathetic. And yeah, we're just so appreciative that you guys have seen our story and helped us share it with everyone.
Thank you so much. We feel very grateful to you as well and appreciate your time tonight and the 24 hours you did in the running, but also the hours over and above that you've helped us with over the last 6 months. It's been amazing. So thank you very, very much. Graham, is there anything else you'd like to say to finish before we finish up tonight?
No, I just personally want to thank the Hockings myself. You know, it's wonderful. If people don't speak up, it's really hard to get the message out there. So you're doing a great thing to support all the people living with epilepsy. And Rhianna, you're amazing. The rest of the team's amazing. Thank you for what you do. It's really important, and I think the people with epilepsy that engage with you guys, even if it's not face to face, and that's the 5% you miss out on. Hopefully, when we get back to having some more face-to-face events, you can connect with some people. And Katrina, thank you very much for the work you do in bringing funds into the organisation, because if we don't have the funds and the resources, we can't do the work. With the number of people that are engaging with us for support, there's an increasing need for us to have more funding to be able to support them. So thank you for what you do.
Very welcome. And before we finish up, next year we are going into our 60th year as an organisation, which is amazing. We have a very special lady that's online tonight that's listening in, Mari Davis. And Mari has just written a comment. A huge thank you for the work, as I have been involved for over 55 years and have seen wonderful progress. And so, Mari, thank you so much for being involved for so long. It's really, really special. And Nicole, thanks everyone. Best wishes. Well done. I think this is from Nicole, who was actually online, and we told her story with her family last year. So thank you so much, Nicole, for being involved and continuing to be involved. So that brings us to the end of the webinar tonight. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone again for being involved, but also thank you to everyone that's online. We certainly can't do what we do without the continued support of our supporters. Those people that have been on board for a couple of weeks, or people like Mari that have been on board for 55 plus years. We can only do what we do with the continued support of people like yourselves. So thank you very, very much. For those people that have already given to our end of year appeal, we thank you so, so much. You are supporting families like the Hockings and helping us to reach more people that are being impacted by epilepsy. For those that haven't supported, and you can, and we understand people are doing it tough at the moment, you can donate today by calling this number, or you can actually go to our website and you can donate online. If you do go to the website, as I said before, you can actually see some of the videos that have been taken of the Hocking family in their home, and their snippets that take you through the different progress of their epilepsy story from diagnosis and the impact it's had on their life. So we encourage you, please, to go to the website and have a look at those. But thank you so, so much. We really do appreciate it. And if there's anything else you need, please call us. If you need support, please contact the Nest line. And to finish off, I just want to again say thank you to the Hockings for being involved, and Rhianna and Graham. Have a wonderful Christmas, or I shouldn't say Christmas, have a wonderful holiday season, everyone, and a safe and happy new year. And we look forward to catching up with you all again in the new year and sharing what we're doing moving forward. So thank you all very, very much. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye, Roman.
Bye.
See you, Roman.
No.
Bye.